Dear brothers and sisters, today I wish to share with you a story of extraordinary faith, courage, and hope in the midst of tribulations. It is the story of Rossella Petrellese, an exceptional woman who lived a life marked by pain and suffering, but who transformed these trials into a message of love, sacrifice, and service to others. Rossella's life begins with difficulty from the moment of her birth. On April 1, 1972, Holy Saturday, she was born in Naples in the midst of a complicated pregnancy, which culminated in an equally difficult caesarean section. It is already significant how the symbol of the cross and the silence of Holy Saturday were present in his life from that moment on. But the cross he would carry would be much heavier than he could have imagined. Already in the first years of life, Rossella is faced with serious health problems. An asthmatic bronchopneumonia threatens to take her away in a few days, but by an unexpected miracle, she manages to survive. However, this is only the beginning of his battle. At the age of 2, he falls out of his high chair and goes into a coma. Thus begins a tortuous journey through the neurosurgery departments, accompanied by countless medical tests. Only 5 years later, a precise diagnosis is finally formulated, revealing a frightening series of pathologies afflicting his fragile body. His list of afflictions includes persistent ductus arteriosus, thalassemia, scoliosis, and severe heart failure. Despite her physical suffering, Rossella showed an uncommon sensitivity and intelligence from an early age. She manifests an innate artistic vocation and begins studying the piano with remarkable results, becoming a little virtuoso at just 5 years old. This was a consolation, a way to compensate for his inability to run and play with the other children. But even in this area, he experiences disappointment. Her peers do not accept her physical defects, do not understand her limitations, and lack patience when illness forces her to stay at home. These first disappointments leave a mark on her heart, but they don't make her give up. With adolescence, the first dreams come. She dreams of perfect physical shape, a successful career as a pianist, a life filled with love and happiness in marriage and motherhood. But life has a different fate in store for her. When her teenage dreams are shattered by a very different reality, Scarlett falls into a deep depression that brings her to the brink of despair. She finds herself immersed in a dark, suffocating, and oppressive tunnel, an experience that many of us, sadly, are familiar with. It is as if a boulder had been placed at the entrance to his tomb, and nothing and no one seems able to remove it. But right now, when all seems lost, a miracle happens. Providential help comes from heaven, in the form of meetings with extraordinary people at the right time, who offer her a different perspective to deal with her illness. This period of extreme crisis, which goes from 1991 to 1992, coincides with the transfer of his family to Asera. In that difficult moment, a providential parish priest takes charge of his spiritual support. Then, as if by divine intervention, Rossella meets Bishop Riboldi, who guides her even deeper into her faith. But it is Don Aldo Giordano, a man of God from Cuneo, who becomes her spiritual guide and establishes a close and significant correspondence with her. Through their spiritual connection, Don Giordano traces a path of donation and pushes her towards an intense charitable activity. From that moment, Rossella begins to shift her focus outside herself and puts the suffering of others first. Despite her superhuman efforts and the constant suffering that accompanies her, she dedicates herself body and soul to comforting the sick, accompanying the desperate and bringing a little of the joy of the risen one to those she meets along her path. His faith continues to grow as his love expands to encompass the entire world. When they tell her that the only way to go on living, and not just let live, is to undergo a painful operation on her spine with an uncertain outcome, a choice stands before her. At that crucial moment, he agrees to take the risk, and with a barely audible voice, he whispers, "I will offer all my suffering for those who suffer the most, for the loneliest, for the most abandoned, for the saddest." With a faith that overcomes all fears, he travels to America for the operation. He shows a profound awareness of the risk he runs, since first of all he asks to be able to confess and receive the Eucharist. On the 18th of September, Rossella dies. Her spirit leaves this earth and unites with God. 6 days later, her body is taken to Asera, where her funeral is held, once again presided over by Don Aldo Giordano. Finally, his body rests in the Cathedral of Asera, where the cause of beatification was officially opened by the Asera Church. Rossella Petrellese has been considered as the morning star, a light that can show our young people the right way to resume the interrupted paths of pure love. Dear brothers and sisters, the story of Rossella Petrellese is a vivid example of the strength and resilience we can find in faith. Despite the adversity she has faced since her birth, she has chosen not to give in to pain and suffering. She found comfort in the arms of God and turned her own suffering into a gift. There are times in life when we live in the deepest darkness, like Holy Saturday, when it seems all hope is lost. But it is precisely in those moments that the light of Christ can shine most intensely. Rossella embraced her cross and learned to see the hidden meaning behind her pain. She learned that her pain was not in vain, but could become a source of redemption for herself and for those who suffer. When adversity overwhelms us, we often only look at ourselves and our problems. But Rossella's story reminds us that even in our suffering, we can find a greater purpose. We can put the well-being of others at the center of our lives and look for ways to bring hope and comfort to those going through difficult times. Rossella's faith was strengthened through her commitment to serving others. She devoted her time and energy to comforting the sick, accompanying the desperate, and being a loving presence for those who felt alone and abandoned. Through this example, we can try to overcome our limitations and give our love and compassion to those who need it most. Still, his journey has not been without its challenges. He faced the uncertainty of a risky operation, knowing he might not survive. But her faith in God was so strong that she chose to offer up her suffering for others, demonstrating a level of self-denial and sacrifice that few of us can fully understand. These are Rossella's illuminating words on which we can and must reflect. I thought my life was just a mistake for everyone, even for me, but you wanted it. First of all, you wanted me to be born and for me to live, despite everything, and you don't make mistakes. Even if I myself am all wrong, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you love me with an immense love. Dear ones, this story teaches that pain and suffering are not necessarily evidence of God's lack of love. On the contrary, they can become evidence of His presence and grace in our lives. As we embrace the cross and rely on God in our tribulations, we can experience an inner transformation that draws us ever closer to His love. Let us therefore pray that we may follow the example of Rossella Petrellese and live with courage, faith, and love. Let us know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be part of the community of faith and hope. God bless you.